everybody. Thank you for joining me today. I do truly appreciate it, and I found a surprising delight. There's a publisher out there called Black Crow Books, and I've shown you some of their limited edition, beautiful special edition type signed books with cool covers, cool signatures, cool stenciling, neat stuff that I like as a book collector. So I'm a big fan. And one day I was on Black Crow Books website and I saw popped up there was a book that was for sale called The Babysitter Lives by an author named Stephen Graham Jones. Ever hear of him? One of my favorites. I got a lot of favorites, but Stephen Graham Jones is one of them. When he's got a book that comes out, I buy it and I read it as soon as I can. But there was one that popped up on Black Crow Books called The Babysitter Lives, and I had never heard of it. Never heard a thing. Not a word, not a tword. So, of course, I bought it. Got the limited edition, special edition, signed gimmick coming whenever it's available. I think it's available in July. I'll put a link in the description for it. It's coming out in July, though. But on NetGalley, which is a place where sometimes you can get a chance to read early books before they're released, and you give a review and stuff like that. So I'll do a video review like this, and I'll go on their website and mash them buttons and give them a review and such. And I said, hey, new Stephen Graham Jones coming out. I wonder if it's there. So I went there to NetGalley, and I, sure enough, found it. I found them. A duo. Two books, a twofer. Twofer, like the twofers. And it was A Babysitter Lives and Killer on the Road. And in there, the way it's posted, Killer on the Road was first. So guess what? I read it first. And I'd like to talk to you about Killer on the Road because it was cool, man. It was one of them books, a kind of story that for me scratched an itch. It scratched an itch. It fills a void. It fills a need, a genre, a specific subgenre. And that is a slasher story, a killer that kills people over and over and over. A slasher, yeah. It's a slasher story, but it's specific, if I could be more specific. It's specific. It's on the road. Hitchhikers. Perhaps a monster? So it feels very familiar, but it's also very original. And so I read this book by Stephen Graham Jones, and it's a weird one to rate because it's not the literary classic, the masterpiece sort of a story, but it's the kind of story that I like, and it's told very well, and it has cool characters, it has a cool villain, and it has a cool way it plays out. And yes, it is deadly. People die, and a lot of people die, and some of the characters that you might like in this book may die. So it's bloody, it's gory, it takes no prisoners, it packs a punch. But let's talk about it a little bit. The Killer on the Road. Obviously there's a killer and there's a road. And so the cool thing is Stephen Graham Jones, as an author, often writes with the main character being a young lady, often Native American lady. That's hard to, the main character here, Harper, people say Native American and she says Indian. It's not always easy to know what to say. Sometimes you may get corrected, and you may I'll hear Stephen Graham Jones in his interviews say Native often, or a specific, like Blackfeet. So I don't know what to say. I don't know. I don't want to get in trouble by saying the wrong thing. I don't know what to say. I don't know. But Harper calls herself an Indian. Her dad was a white guy and a trucker. And her mom was also Native. And she has a little sister named Meg. But we start off this book, Harper and her mom are not getting along well. They have a big fight, a big blow up. Harper breaks a bunch of dishes, shoves a couch up, and it gets stuck on the ceiling, and then she leaves, never coming back, running away. And she's in Wyoming, and she goes and gets on the interstate I-80, a treacherous stretch of interstate in the United States, the way I understand it. And so she's at the on-ramp and she's trying to catch a ride. Well, lo and behold, a Yellowstone park truck comes rumbling down, an old junker truck. And there's a couple of familiar faces in there. Some of her friends are in the truck. And it turns out her ex-boyfriend also is in the truck. And at the same time, her mom's driving by in a Buick and they're hiding. And Meg, also her little sister, since big sister ran away, Meg's going too. She's going to try to find her and go with her. And that's where we are. Mom's trying to find daughter's run away. Older sister is saying younger sister has to go back home. Two of her friends, boyfriend and girlfriend, are with her. And a Yellowstone park truck, and her ex-boyfriend is with them as well. And there's also truckers. So they've pissed off truckers. And now they're marked for targeted by all these truckers on I-80, and every one of them is harassing them because they've done something stupid. And I'm not going to get on all the details of what they've done. So they're on the run. All the truckers are after them, and then there's a killer known as Bucket Mouth. And I'm not going to tell you anything about Bucket Mouth, but Bucket Mouth is a fantastic killer, a fantastic villain, and a perfect foil for this story. And he now has targeted Harper. Harper, whose dad has gone missing several years earlier. He goes out like Alabama's 18-wheeler roll-on. Only thing is, in Alabama's roll-on 18-wheeler, they find Dad. And Dad's on the phone singing, "Come on, Daddy, come on along. Roll on, Daddy, till you get back home." I misquoted a great song. It was one of my favorites as a kid. But Dad's missing. Long gone. And Harper loved her dad. And her dad trained her in the ways of the road, of the trucker lifestyle. And there's a lot of that in this book. Because Harper held her dad on a pedestal. He loved his daughter. And he spent a lot of time with her, taking her on the road, teaching her way of the road, including piss jugs and all. But there's a killer that's after Harper and her sister and her friends, and Bucket Mouth has some cool characteristics. And there's a neat setup between Harper and Bucket Mouth. And the finale, I won't tell you anything about the finale other than it's really cool. It really works. And this book reminded me of a lot of things. Some things that you might not even draw a correlation to. But in the finale, I once watched a show. I can't remember if it was Amazing Stories or Alfred Hitchcock Presents. It was in color, so it was something from the 80s, I'm pretty sure. And it had the guy that played George Jefferson in it. I don't remember his name, but George Jefferson was in this show, and he was dealing with the devil. And the devil had a deal for George Jefferson. Essentially, it came down to this sort of a challenge. The devil said, if you can ask me a question I can't answer, or give me a challenge that I cannot fulfill, then I'll let you go. I'll let you live. And George Jefferson was given a chance to ask him a few questions to learn a little bit about the devil, and then finally go. The challenge presented, and George Jefferson used the things that the devil was telling him, come up with an idea, and was able to come up with something that was so obvious nobody probably ever would have thought of. And he beat the devil. The end of this book kind of reminds me of that episode. Of course, it's nothing like it, but it reminds me of it. I thought about that when it was all said and done, about the wit, the thought process, the thinking, the outthinking, the conversations, and remembering this and that, and pulling it all together to come up with, boom, a way to beat the devil. Bucket Mouth is not the devil, but anyway, I like the saying, beat the devil. I like the phrase. But this thing had it reminded me a lot of movies that I'd seen over the years that kind of fit. I mean, at different times it would bring to mind different things. So have you ever heard of something called The Thing? It came to mind a little bit. The villain in The Thing, the monster in The Thing. Although Bucket Mouth is not like that exactly. Also, I thought of Jeepers Creepers. You had this villain that would not stop, relentless, and the people are trying to get away, and everything goes wrong for them. And then at some point, they decide they've got to try to get the villain. How's that turn out for him? Other ones, Duel, Matheson's Duel, and the movie, Spielberg's movie. I can't remember what the guy's name was that was in it, but I thought of Duel at times. The way that the trucker chasing the guy in his little car seemed to have supernatural abilities, even though, as far as we know, it's just a guy driving a truck. It became a monster, like Jaws became something more than a shark, became something supernatural, something all-powerful, something omniscient that always seemed to know where to be and what to do. Also, Hitcher, Rutger Hauer. I think it was Rutger Hauer was in Hitcher. Was that right? Anyway, what I'm thinking is what I'm thinking about. Whether I'm right or wrong, I don't know. But it sure enough reminded me of that. And then ultimately, Candy Cane, Joyride also came to mind. Some of that same stuff. This killer is just too able, too seemingly omniscient to be real. Is he or isn't he? I don't know. Is there some supernatural aspect to it? I don't know. And I don't want to spill the beans on this story. But I think Harper is probably my favorite Stephen Graham Jones character that he's written. And I've liked some of them a lot. But I liked her perhaps more. She seemed... she felt in many ways more normal of a girl. More well-adjusted, although her relationship with her mom and running away from home in a fight that would indicate otherwise. But she seemed to be the more head on her shoulders kind of rational thinking, wanting to do the right thing sort of a girl who's just had enough with her family life. And she's lost her father and she can't really cope. But otherwise, she seemed like a good teenage girl. And she's also bad to the bone and tough-minded. And she's not bad to the bone like Chuck Norris, but she's tough and she's strong-willed and strong-minded. And I really liked her as a character. I liked the way that she looked out for her friends and tried to make sure that they did things the right way and did the right thing even when things went wrong. But Stephen Graham Jones has written a story here that's special, something special. And I can see why, the way I understand this story was written before a lot of the stuff that he's published in the last 6, 7, 8, 10 years. I don't know. Don't remember exactly. The story was written before a lot of that other stuff. And it just kind of sat on the shelf for a while. And finally it's being published in this twofer set with The Babysitter Lives. And I'm ready to read The Babysitter Lives. But Killer on the Road, I'm going to give this 4 stars, 4 fat stars though, because while it's not that literary masterpiece, it is genre, and it is a genre that often gets looked down upon. It is so good for what it is. For what it is. I mean, you think about some of these movies that I loved. I love them more than some of the all-time great films, and I can watch them over and over and really enjoy them, knowing that there's a big difference between The Shawshank Redemption and Joyride or Duel or some of the other movies that I mentioned, Jeepers Creepers. There's a big difference between those, but this can still be so much fun and something that I can watch over and over again. I can watch it annually at Halloween time and really enjoy it each time I watch it. And that's what Stephen Graham Jones has done here. He's filled a niche, he's filled a void, and he's done it so well and so satisfyingly. The story leaves me, as the reader, feeling like I got exactly what I needed. Thank you for that. So I give it 4 stars, but it's so much more enjoyable of a story than some of those 5-star books out there. Some of those all-time greats. I would read this again before I would read a whole lot of those. And I'll remember this one forever. I don't know. I assume I will. Hopefully I'll remember things forever. But I'll remember this one. It's one that burrowed itself in, and now it's in there dug in like an Alabama tick. It ain't coming loose. But now I can't wait to read The Babysitter Lives. I'm starting that today because it's all in the same book. And I'll put a link in the description for whatever versions of this book you can pre-order now. So look it up. I recommend it, and I'll get back to you on The Babysitter Lives. And with that being said, I can think of no more lies to tell. So thank you for your time. I do truly appreciate it, and say la vie, baby. Doo-doo.